Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Phil from Zaid Comics doing a new series of videos, something I've been wanting to do for a while. And we're going to be talking about character creation for comic books. And our first guest, the creator of many characters like Garbage Man, and characters from the acclaimed book Wraith of God, which is the new campaign, Wraith of God to Blood Hunters, is on Indiegogo right now. We're going to talk to the man, the myth, the legend, the legendary Aaron Lopresti. Let's bring him on down, everybody. Get him in here. You know him. You love him. A man of the people. Here he is, Aaron. Aaron.
Thank you. Thank you all. Appreciate the warm welcome. And, happy to be here, Phil. Very excited to talk to you about Wraith of God.
Yeah.
And of course, referring to me as legendary simply means I'm been around a while. So.
Well, I would never say that. All right. I wouldn't say that. But let's talk about characters. And we have a lot of creations to delve into. And just in Wraith of God, I read that book. I loved it, man. It was super pulpy, monsters, and just getting into the creation of the character. Did you mean for this character to give off that old school retro pulp vibe? Because that's what I got from it.
Well, when I originally put this together, the original pitch was back in the late 90s, and it was originally a Western Ghost Rider pitch for Marvel Comics, which I couldn't get anywhere with it at the time. But I really liked it. So I thought, well, what can I do to change this to make it my own and then maybe do something with it eventually? I must have put together the design pretty quickly. And it seemed to me that I was either going to go, all red or all black. And then it just seemed like all black was more striking.
Yeah.
And I always had the back of my mind, I had sort of spaghetti westerns, I wanted kind of that feel. And so I gave him that kind of flat Clint Eastwood hat as opposed to a regular cowboy hat that I might have used with Ghost Rider. And then after that, it was a matter of taking out the Marvel elements and replacing them with my own ideas and expanding on what I had originally was pitching to Marvel to make it a more complete and well-rounded character that wasn't based on something else.
Yeah, for sure. And you totally get that kind of outlaw spaghetti Western feel. You have the big differences between like the golden age American Western hero to more of that riding the line of a vigilante outlaw, taking matters into his own hands here. And I love the fact that the first Wraith of God, you have a complete story, but also there's almost hidden in there, you snuck the origin in there as well. Like it's not right at the beginning, blatant, oh, we're going to hit you over the head with an origin. You snuck it in there and you had layers to it.
Anytime I do a character, even if I'm doing, a property, like when I did Metamorpho for DC or something like that, where I'm sort of reimagining it, I like to put something morally at stake for the character, right? So that at the end of the story, somebody learns a lesson, whether it's us as the reader or the character themselves. And, then of course, by proxy, us reading it, we see the character learn something, maybe we get something out of it as well as a reader. So I never just go into just saying, well, I'm just going to tell a story with this generic character and go from A, B, C, D, and then work the end. I'm trying to figure out ways to give the character some depth and some interest that goes beyond just what a normal superhero book or character-driven book would, or I should say, property-driven book. Property meaning like Spider-Man or something like that. Right? Yeah. We want something more than just this visual. And I don't like to start from the beginning, because I think if you start from the character's origin, and then how much stuff do you have to add in there and develop before you can actually become the character?
Right.
And so then you might be 40 pages into a story before he actually has his first adventure. And to me, that's just a boring way to do comics. I would much rather start in the middle, so we can see some action, which is what I did with this story, which you're showing a page right there from the beginning sequence of the story, that you get a little hint of maybe who this guy is and what he's doing, but you want to know more. And then you start to see some of the relationships he has as it goes on, and then you wait for that opportunity, that perfect moment in the story to say, okay, now I can flash back and give the reader some more information about who he is and why he's doing what he's doing, because we've already established kind of what type of character he is, but we don't know what his motivations are or why he's doing what he's doing. Then you give some of that later on, and you're able to tell the story, but you're also able to give people action right off the bat, and then take a pause, go back, give them a little bit more information that makes everything have a little bit more depth as you go forward. Right. So that was what I tried to do here. And in this story, I had obviously separate origin stories for him and Esther, his sidekick or his partner, that revealed enough information to get you up to speed, but didn't give you everything. And then you have the option to go back as the writer and say, okay, I'm going to give him a little bit more at the end, or I'm going to give him enough at the end to sort of pay off the story. But there's still, you might leave some question marks that can be answered at a later time.
Right. I think you established with both of these characters, Esther and Wraith, of what they went through and the reasons they're willing to do the things that they do and how far they'll go. Very mysterious character. One of my favorite parts of him is the mystery. And is he this, agent of God, or there's like that blurred line there where maybe this guy's just wacky, crazy, which I really enjoyed. And that gives you, as a creator and writer, a lot more routes to go down in the future, exploring these questions, going about like his tactics of crime fighting or monster hunting. What kind of inspired you to put all those things into this character?
Well, I am a pulp fan like you are. Obviously I'm well aware of The Shadow and Doc Savage and, variety of other characters that came out of that era. I think there's a lot of Batman in him as well, and that may be a lot of the inspiration was kind of adding Esther, who wasn't originally in the Marvel pitch, to kind of be his Alfred, but then make her a reluctant Alfred, maybe she's not sure why she's doing what she's doing. And then of course it's funny because it took me, this isn't something obviously I consistently worked on from 1997 until now. It was something that every once in a while I'd get an idea and I'd write it down and put it in a file until I was ready to develop the whole thing. And I kept getting these ideas of like, well, why would Esther join him? What is her motivation for really doing this? But I started to think that wouldn't it be cool if we never really see his identity, right? And then, well, if he didn't see his identity, how would he get around? I like the idea of the Batman as a detective concept. Yeah. I was like, well, how do you do that? If he's walking around as a Wraith, he can't walk around as a Wraith and ask questions to people. I mean, this isn't like Metropolis where everybody goes, oh, that's Batman. We know that's Batman. And he's out in the Old West. How does he do his detective work? And he'd have to do it by disguise. And so I thought, okay, so now he's a master of disguise. We have to set that up and kind of figure out how that works. And I wanted it to be ambiguous as to, is he this agent of God? Is he, does he have supernatural power or, divine powers that are, given to him, or is this all is he just a magician, with a lot of tricks up his sleeve? And so it's funny how, as you develop these different ideas of who you want the character to be, then these other concepts of how to make it work start popping into your head, and it becomes this really, in very short order, a very complex thing. And you think, wow, this could be really good, or I could really blow it, because I'm not going to be able to mix all of these elements so that they're believable and workable. But thankfully it came out okay. But it wasn't just one moment in time where I said, I'm going to do this. It just kind of developed over time when I would get ideas. And I guess that's the luxury of working on a story for on and off for 20 some years, that you just, things pop into your brain. You see a movie and you go, wow, that would really work, and you can flesh this thing out. And that's kind of how it happened.
Yeah, I totally agree with the idea of kind of simmering on a character or story for a while. Like when I first started getting into crowdfunding, the characters that my brother and I had from the Lost Pages, a lot of them we created like 10 years ago or more. And we did small indie comics that were crappy, and we came back to them. Like I went to college, came back to them, and revamped them, and I was a better writer and stuff, and met amazing artists. And that's why I always tell people that are new writers or creators going to do comics, give it time, let it simmer and percolate and ingest all the creativity you can get, and learn your character. So the more time you spend with them, the more time, or the more you're going to know how they're going to react in certain situations when you put them in there. So knowing that, this character seems very fleshed out, the story seems like you took time with it, and I think it came out great. Like I said many times, it's one of my favorite comics that I've read this year. I just totally loved it. It blew me away. And even the look too of the character looks very superhero comic-y, but you have them in this monster book.
You can't operate in a vacuum and say, oh, I love this, so I'm going to do this, and I don't give a rip what anybody thinks. I mean, the visual design of the character in this case is very simple, but it's still effective, and you have to look at this. You have to look at something and go, does this look cool or not? And if it doesn't look cool, you need to toss it and develop it so it does look cool.
Right.
And it can't be cool just because you thought it up. You have to have objective. You have to have an objective eye that allows you to be able to be hard on yourself and go, okay, yeah, I really like this. I came up with it, but it is kind of stupid looking. So I need to figure out. And sometimes that's looking at other people, right? Who does cool really well? Someone like Dale Keown does cool really well.
Yeah.
So maybe I look at him and some of the stuff he's done and said, well, why is this monster cooler looking than my monster? People always ask me, when I was working in mainstream, everybody would ask me, well, what's your favorite character to work on? And the correct answer is whatever character I'm working on at the time, because you find a way to make that your favorite thing. Once you get to know a character, whether you create it or you're working on someone else's character, once you get to know that character and understand that character, you develop an affection. There's been a number of times I've worked on books that maybe going into it, I was like, whatever, it's a job.
Yeah.
Then because the writing's good, or there's something about the character, once you start drawing it and getting it down and understanding the character, they become your favorite. And I could say that with Wraith of God, because I had multiple IPs and I wasn't sure which one to go with. So it wasn't like, oh, Wraith of God, that's the one that stands out for me and I need to go with it, So you never know for sure. You kind of roll the dice and take a chance. It happened to work out, but I think also part of it is being able to put together a story that's interesting and entertaining to attach that character to. I mean, you have to sell the book based on the visuals, but people stick around based on the story, right?
Right. Yeah. I always say, like, I mean, you have 90s comics, like Extreme Studios, Image stuff. Those sold a buttload. But do people remember those stories and the characterizations? Do people outside of, the ones that were 90s freaks, do they know those stories? And I don't think so. I think the important things are, of course, the visuals, but also the themes and characters that kind of force us to remember those stories, you know,
Right.
and that's something I'm really trying to hit on in the stuff I'm creating.
Yeah, you think back to Simonson's Thor, for example, which was huge,
Yeah.
one of the milestone series of the 80s, along with, some of the stuff Frank Miller did. But you look at that and there's certain moments, when Beta Ray Bill picks up Thor's hammer, and changes. I mean, those are into Thor, and those are the moments that you remember. I mean, you remember them visually, but you also remember, the story elements. That was like, wow, that was really cool. That I didn't see that moment coming.
Right. And there's weight to it.
Sure, the visuals stay with you, but it's because that story was so good.
Yeah.
And so you remember the visuals, like, Don Blake on the last page of Thor 337, which was Simonson's first issue, of him just, that low angle shot looking up in the rain. He's got his arms outstretched and he's screaming to Odin, going, "Father,"
Yeah.
And it's just like, but it's because Beta Ray Bill stole his hammer and he's no longer Thor, and what's he going to do? And it was just, you remember the image, but you also remember that moment. And so it's a combination of both those things you're always trying to achieve. Is I got to have something that looks really cool, but I also got to have those moments that people remember from the story, that when they're telling their friends or word of mouth, oh, there was this part where this happened and you won't believe it after, that kind of thing.
Right. So let's talk about this, the next installment of Wraith. And you're also bringing in, we got a Garbage Man story in there. We got Nightclub. What can people expect from this new book?
I want to abandon my other IPs.
Yeah.
We're talking about the kind of the mysteries and unanswered questions in the Wraith story.
Yeah.
But then look how many more I introduced in the epilogue, in just a 3-page epilogue, right?
Yep.
To kind of get people hooked on the idea that this is a bigger, expansive universe and where are these characters going. But then I thought, I can't walk away from the branding of Wraith of God, which was successful. I've got to use that. So I thought, well, okay, we'll sell this as a Wraith of God 2 with backup stories. So he has a 50-page story in the front of this book that's just next Wraith of God adventure.
Awesome.
And then you've got I think it's 18-page Garbage Man story. The Nightclub appeared in the Garbage Man trade paperback.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't leave those guys hanging, right? So there's a backup story in there of those characters. And the other thing I've been getting bugged out about for probably close to 20 years is behind me, you can see that Space Babe banner, the girl with the ray gun there.
Yeah, what a babe.
That's Kit Carter. I'll put it in as a stretch goal, and we'll include 15 pages of Kit Carter if we hit 100K, which we have in past. And so now you've got Wraith of God with 3 backup stories in here, all that will expand the Lopresti verse, for lack of a better term. So you're getting a 100-page book for like, $25.
Dude, awesome IP. Love the character. Great design. You guys need to check out the link in the description is 2 Wraith of God Blood Hunters. So definitely back that. And you have your own show and channel that you stream on regularly, if you want to tell people about that.
Yeah, 5 o'clock Pacific time on Sundays. My wife Shelly and I do a do I dare call it a YouTube variety show? I don't know what to call it. It's but it's a little bit different than what a lot of people do on YouTube. We don't really talk about current events. We just talk and we show videos and we just do dumb things.
Bring your snacks, people.
Yeah, that's right. Always bring snacks. We're always big on what the snack is for the start of the show. That's
great. Everybody check out the channel, Aaron. It's always a pleasure hanging out with you, talking about this stuff and some of my favorite stuff, characters, comic characters. Hopefully give some new creators some insight into what goes into a character to make him badass, and also some new eyes on a great book. Pick up Wraith of God, one of my favorites. Thanks so much for coming on, man.
Hey, thank you, Phil, for having me. It was a lot of fun. I enjoy doing these, so I appreciate the platform and for you taking the time to include me on your show.
Awesome. And until next time, guys, like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet already. Ring the bell for notifications, and we will see you later.